What's up, everybody? It's Soap Opera Sundays here on OCG TV. Gonna recap some of the other soap operas beyond the Gates, although I will be talking about your comments towards the end of the video on this past week of Beyond the Gates. And I still gotta say, as much as I will sometimes criticize the writing on Beyond the Gates, it is the only American soap opera worth watching closely. Now, I have been enjoying Days. We're going to talk about Days first again because it's the only other show right now that I do enjoy. With their writing, if they can just get a little more dramatic for us or quicken the pace a little bit, I think it would be better off, and I would maybe even recap it more often than just Soap Opera Sundays. I like a lot of the ideas. I think I said this last week too, though, but the actual follow through with these storylines hasn't really worked out so far. But I am enjoying all of the Dimeras being kidnapped. The pacing was kind of an issue again because we ended last week with Chad disappearing on Thanksgiving, and then we see him being taken to Tony and Kristen where they're locked up in the family crypt. But then we didn't see any of them again until this past Friday, so a whole week without seeing them again. They're trying to still figure out who's doing all of this. I guess the pacing for that is that this is just obviously going to keep happening until all the Dimeras are locked away, because I think it's going to happen to Theo this coming week. This week, though, Theo needed EJ's help with something. Theo had become overwhelmed with his work at Dimera. He is the new CEO, but with Tony being gone, he's not getting Tony's input. So he asked EJ for help, even though there was a little bit of drama from EJ when Theo was first made CEO by Tony. And then we saw EJ go to the pod again after talking to Theo. Who is this person that EJ's trying to resurrect with Dr. Rolf's help? All of the scenes from that episode alluded to the fact that it has to be Lexi, right? Like, it has to be Theo's mom, the other Dimera daughter of Stefano, as Kat and Rafe were working together this week to try and figure out what's going on with all these Dimeras disappearing. The one thing most of them have in common, except for Dimitri, is that Stefano was their father in some capacity, either adopted or by blood. I'm hoping that means Lexi could be tied to this story. Now, Lexi was written off the show because the actress Renee Jones wanted to retire from acting. So if it is Lexi, does that mean it's another recast? I would be fine with that if it was a good recast. But there also will be a recast of the person that's actually doing this to the Dimeras. But we are kind of building for all of these Dimeras to be on the show, and some sort of like Dimera civil war, which really intrigues me. So, as I said about the writers on this show, I feel like the ideas are there, but will the execution be there? I am hoping so, but I am excited about where this story is going. All of the Dimeras being locked up in one place, a possible other Dimera alive because of EJ. Lots of intrigue there. On the flip side of the Chad story, he missed the custody hearing. You know, Jennifer's been trying to take his kids away because of the whole cat situation. But he's locked up right now, so he couldn't be there. EJ went to bat for him at the hearing and got it delayed. And right now, since his dad didn't show up, Thomas is worried about his father. So I do think in a way that could help mend that relationship. I like the scene between Jack and Thomas this week talking about Chad and how Thomas is confused by Chad's actions lately. I still do disagree with a lot of the fan base that Jennifer is just totally in the wrong. Do I think Jennifer is being ridiculous sometimes? And yes, and she can be holier than thou for sure. You'll never make me hate Jack, though. As damaged as of a character he was back in the day, he's always been one of my faves. But I still do think they're right with the cat character. and I think I'm getting redundant because I said this last week too, but her going along with acting like she was an alive Abby would be damaging to Thomas's head in the first place. And for Chad to still have that person in his life for a while wasn't the best look for Chad with his son. So I still do get both sides there. The other story that got a lot of time this week was little Rachel in the nut house, basically, and Brady feeling bad for his daughter having to be there, but she has shown signs of being a bit psychotic and she doesn't know how to deal with her feelings, and so she's at the, I guess, adolescent ward at that place. The character of Sophia has also been there, and everyone thought Sophia couldn't talk or was at least a little catatonic, but I guess she can move, but everyone thinks she can't talk. But we got to see her go to Rachel this week, visit her, and she can talk. She's faking it now. I guess when it first happened, it was real, but now she realizes it kind of gives her an upper hand with people. And the rest of the week was kind of setting up Sophia manipulating the younger Rachel. She's going to help Rachel while they're at the hospital here. But I think she's going to try and eventually use Rachel for something. I like a good psycho, and I feel like Sophia, the actress, is playing it creepy, a little bit over the top sometimes, but I'm enjoying the creepy factor. She has a creepy smile when she wants to have a creepy smile, so I liked that. And the character of Sophia right now is very upset that Johnny and Chanel have her baby, so I'm wondering if her intentions are to hurt Johnny and Chanel since they have her baby. I don't know, but I'm intrigued by that too. They are starting to have stories that are at least intriguing me. Now, I am less intrigued by the Stephanie story that she's going away on her book tour. There seems to be someone obsessed with her, and she went to her hotel, I think in Chicago, her first date on the tour, and the mystery person was lurking outside of her hotel room. I still don't know if the show is trying to lead us to believe that it's Jeremy because of their history there. I kind of wish it was set up better. I feel like there could have been a better setup to Jeremy and Alex's rivalry. We've gotten it here and there, but once again, the execution, a little lacking. I would be more intrigued with that story with better execution, but I'm not unintrigued. I liked that they had Kate helping Maggie with Titan this week. That is very much where the character of Kate should be right now on the show. I do like that. I feel like what the writers get right on this show is that they know the characters. They certainly know the characters on Days way better than Ron Carlivati ever did. So they're doing good character work. I hope they can get their plots to either be more exciting, more cohesive, to really get these intriguing stories off the ground. But I'm liking what I've been seeing from Days lately. It just can be a little more on the boring side day to day. Let's move on to the harder soap operas for me to talk about. Young and the Restless this past week was a total shit show, I felt like. Josh Griffith's bad writing was front and center, reminding me once again how he's held that position way too long of head writer on Young and the Restless. It was a terrible week for the writing. The AI story was at the forefront the first few episodes of the week, and I hated having to see Kane groveling to Victor and Adam because they've used his own AI software against him. So to me, not only is the AI story just stupid and poorly written, but it has killed any momentum for Billy Flynn as Kane. And honestly, kind of killing any momentum Billy and Phyllis could have as a possible pairing for me. Like, I enjoyed Phyllis and Lily getting into it, and I feel like Young and the Restless is doing a good job of having these women rivalries lately. I liked their argument. I liked Kane breaking up their argument. I like how Kane is trying to really prove that Phyllis is the one that screwed him with the AI program, but while also trying to date her. I don't know. That's the part of the story that's like kind of stupid. So yeah, I just don't know what they want us to want from this Kane character. I feel like it was very much hyped that Billy Flynn was coming over from Days Too Young and the Restless, but this is the stories they give him. You know, Chad on Days of Our Lives, who he also plays and still currently airing on Days of Our Lives, was the good Dimera, but still had way more balls than Kane on this show. So hated all of that. Sharon and Nick, before Thanksgiving, were outside in LA. Come back this week, episodes later, still just outside in LA looking for Noah and Sienna, having to deal with the homeless in LA. I guess that was Josh trying to really prove they were in LA. Here's the drug addicts and the homeless in LA. But it fell very flat. All of the Nick and Sharon scenes in LA lately have certainly fallen flat to me. And then old Victor heads to Los Angeles. Big, bad, 80-something-year-old Victor, who took care of Kane because of his AI program, goes to LA to confront Matt. And while it was interesting to see, I guess, Victor Newman versus Todd Manning for a second, I feel like the rest of the week with this story quickly devolved into everyone acting like a cartoon character. Matt having his confrontation with Sienna and Noah, who he's had locked up for a couple weeks, was so over the top to me. I mean, I like that he was going to try and make Noah overdose on drugs, I guess. It was a really crazy thing to do. But as a man that wanted revenge for his wife sleeping with this guy who he trusted, those scenes would have worked a little better if not for the two cops in the scene. So all along, we've been led to believe that the male detective, whose name I don't even care to remember, has been kind of a bad cop helping Matt. But then in this episode, he double crosses Matt, only to have his partner, the woman cop, double cross him. I don't know. I thought it was a joke because there was like no build to any of this. And that's the crux of my issues with Josh Griffith's writing. And yeah, a lot of the episodes this week proved why Josh Griffith sucks at his job and should no longer be there, should have been gone a long time ago, and reminding me why I stopped watching Young and the Restless 2 years ago. The only redeeming quality of this entire week was the Friday episode, because finally Claire and Holden had scenes again. I've been asking myself why the momentum for the show has dropped so much for me over the past few weeks. Well, A, it's because the LA storyline has lost momentum every single week. But the thing that drew me in when I started watching again nearly 2 months ago was Claire and Holden's chemistry, but they barely shared scenes the past few weeks. They did at least again today, and I enjoyed the Audra-Claire confrontation. These three are the best thing about the show. And if I continue to watch, I might just fast forward everything except these three. The problem is they're not on a whole lot lately. I think they were literally only on Friday. Audra might have been on another episode. But I enjoyed the Audra and Claire catfight where Audra slapped her and Claire choked her ass. the Psycho and Claire did come out there, and I enjoyed it. The weak part of the story to me is still Kyle. Claire went to Kyle afterwards to talk about bringing Audra down. Kyle bores me. But of course, Kyle is more than happy to help Claire try and bring Audra down because he's obsessed with Claire. I will keep watching that storyline. I don't know how I feel about the rest. The LA story definitely devolved into a cartoon. And that leads us to General Hospital. You know, I will say I almost tried to pick up Bold and the Beautiful instead of GH this past week, but I couldn't pull the trigger after watching a few minutes of Bold and the Beautiful. But I might try again in the future. I don't know. I still feel similar to General Hospital, how I felt the past few weeks. We'll talk about the positive first. I still think the best thing on the show, or at least the only story out of the many different stories that this show has going on right now that kind of makes me care a little bit, is the Willow, Michael, Drew stuff. And Drew and Willow getting married this week, but also us learning that Willow really does hate that man, or at least I learned that Willow does seem to hate Drew, and that Willow does seem to have a really good read on Drew, and that she's just going through with marrying him because she's hoping it will get the charges against her for possibly shooting him off. She's hoping to get off those charges and hoping to get her kids back. So it was good to get that insight into Willow. Michael was also creepily staring through the window while they were getting married. And then Michael goes to Hooker Girl, whose name I struggled to remember, who's, I guess, no longer a hooker, but used to be a hooker. And Michael tries to forget about his problems with her. I don't think the Michael and Hooker Girl coupling is necessarily working, but I don't hate it either. I guess when the rest of the show is a bit of a struggle, I can't help but want to watch these three, Willow, Drew, Michael, more often. It was good to finally get a follow-up on Ned. I mean, we actually didn't get a follow-up. They just went a couple weeks not following up on the fact that he had a heart attack. But he winds up with the rest of the Quartermaines for Thanksgiving. So I guess that was our follow-up. Ned also recalled Drew walking away from him when he was having that heart attack. So it's just another person upset with Drew, I guess. I might be struggling to get into this show because of this whodunit with Drew. I don't like soap opera whodunits most of the time. I was even thinking before recording this if I could even think of a soap opera whodunit that I actually liked, and none really came to mind right away. Like, I could remember a couple that were okay. One on like Another World I saw at some point. One on Days of Our Lives in like the early 2000s. But like most of the whodunits get dragged out too long on this show, and that's clearly what's happening with the Who Shot Drew story. And so coming into the show after Drew was shot, trying to follow along with this investigation has been quite boring. Curtis seems to have hired Miss Wu to shoot Drew. I think it's probably a red herring. I don't think it's actually going to be that Miss Wu had someone kill Drew. I think somebody probably got to Drew first. What also kind of irritated me with the Jordan and Curtis storyline is the way they've been writing Trina, who seems so occupied by this man who she's only known to be her father for a small amount of time, moving on with another woman. I hate when they write characters that are in their early to mid-20s as like kids upset about who their parents are dating, but it's even worse here because she didn't know Curtis was her father for very long. I get why Trina was upset this week because I guess everyone's been hiding the fact that Portia's pregnant. I don't know why, but I feel like the show is really trying to write Trina to be annoying just as much of it as they're writing Dante to be annoying. So yeah, the rest of the show, kind of whatever. It was interesting to see John Lindstrom pull double duty this week. I know, I forget his name, but the guy that plays Ned and also plays Justin on Days of Our Lives does that all the time. But was interesting to see Joey, or on this show, Kevin, visit Laura. I guess they're still together. They did intrigue me a little more with the Sidwell story. He seems to be blackmailing Laura because he wants to have the mayor under his thumb. That was a good revelation to kind of give me more insight into exactly what Sidwell is doing here. But he had pictures of when Laura found the professor dead in her trunk, and I guess he's going to use that against her. I didn't really care for all of Laura's hallucinations on Friday. Cyrus, Esme, two more god-awful villains in the General Hospital merry-go-round of villains that this show has had over time. And yeah, Britt and Jason don't do it for me, so I don't have much to say on them. Valentin was at the end of the week with Carly. They had their cliffhanger. I've said all along since returning to the show a little over a month ago that I like how this show does cliffhangers, but the lack of follow through sometimes with those cliffhangers, like Ned, and just my lack of being able to really get into the stories. They haven't made me care about stories yet. That's my big issue. And maybe it's because of the Who Shot Drew storyline getting so much time. I don't know. But yeah, the only story that's come close to making me care so far is Michael, Willow, Drew. So once again, we'll see if I'm still watching General Hospital next week on Soap Opera Sunday. Let's move on to some of your comments on Beyond the Gates. Kathy said they have written Vanessa and Leslie's characters in a corner. Really, they both can go along with Ashley and Derek. I mean, I feel that way about the Vanessa character for sure. Vanessa and Ashley can go. I don't dislike Leslie as much as others seem to. She still entertains me. And I actually think Derek has potential when he's paired with someone that's not as annoying as Ashley. Hemi30 said, I like Andre, but I wish he would leave Derek alone and stop playing in his face. You're not his friend. There's no need to keep talking to him. That's the one thing I'll defend Derek on. Glad to hear Derek called out Ashley. Yeah, I don't know why Andre acts like he and Derek are friends, because Andre was trying to play in his face the whole time with the Ashley situation. Hemi also said this last week regarding Shanice and Ted, that she doesn't know about Shanice and Ted. I think they're going to do the same thing with Shanice, only this time it will be Ted and Nicole instead of Derek and Ashley. Nicole will see Ted and Shanice being all close and flirty, and she's going to feel some type of way about that. It's possible. I can definitely see Shanice kind of just healing another male character on this show like they tried to do with Derek. I hope that's not the case. I want more for Shanice. I want her to grow as a character. With Greg Vaughn coming in as another potential love interest for Nicole, that could change things up a bit too. Jayway said, Leslie always seems to sucker the Duprees in with her sob stories on the heels of her creating havoc for them. She never misses the chance to put her foot in their butts on one hand, then turn around and beg for help the next. How gullible can these folks be? Yeah, they write the Duprees as a little too gullible with Leslie for me too. And then Jayway said, now even Kat's own niece is on the Eva train, calling her out for her nasty biases. Kat is a little too biased towards Eva. But as I said on the Friday episode video, Kat wasn't wrong with calling out the Duprees for being fake, which is what Durrell Smith agreed with me on, saying that is how the Duprees have been introduced, and that's all we see. I've always found the Duprees pretty hypocritical with some of these characters. It's a noisy day, so I'm gonna cut this short soon. Devin said, I thought Sam looked too old to be a high schooler, and Peaches doesn't even have any damn wrinkles on her. Yeah, the casting on this show has been odd. We've talked about it a lot over the months. Samantha being a teenager is odd. The Peaches casting is one of the most ridiculous castings the show has done. Bobby Wobby said, my biggest problem with Beyond the Gates is that there is way too much of characters telling us what happened off screen. It has been getting on my nerves how many episodes they do that. I remember one episode of Jacob and Naomi sitting in a restaurant, and Jacob was talking to her about how good she handled herself in the courtroom. I want to see for myself how good she does in the courtroom. I believe that the executive producers have the characters explain what happened off screen because that's a lot cheaper than showing the scenes. Then, yeah, I've been complaining the past couple weeks about not getting to meet Madison's mom, not seeing them on Thanksgiving. It could be a budget issue or the show just being cheap overall. That I do hope that's something they fix, because that's what a lot of the other soaps these days have done, is write stories off screen instead of showing us. Less telling, less showing. Last comment, Elisa said Marcel is going to take Leslie for every dime she has left, and he's going to put her ass in jail as well. I see the twinkle in his eye. It's not just lust. Selling off forever and Sheila is his idea of love. Could be a great call by Alicia. I can definitely see that happening with the Marcel character, which could be very funny too. So definitely an intriguing possibility, an intriguing idea by Alicia there. Last thing, I want to promote the Patreon, patreon.com/OCGTV. Currently doing, this past week was some more Santa Barbara from 1984. And we did some General Hospital from 1983. The whole aftermath of Grant Putnam being a spy to the U.S. He's trying to still have a life outside of that when he's getting all these threats and whatnot. And then I started One Life to Live from 1989, the start of the Eterna storyline, which is something I've always wondered if I would actually like or not. I guess we're going to find out. I really have enjoyed it so far, though. It reminds me a little bit of current General Hospital, where they're really good at like cliffhangers and stuff. Except they actually make you excited for the storylines overall too. That's the difference. I wish current General Hospital could do that.